All right. So, of course, we give all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world calls Christ, Yahweh Shai. That's how we start all things. It's your brother Chief Priest Salazar Maloy, aka the Gorilla Hebrew. And I'm back for, well, not back, I guess. I'm back, but, this is the first episode, the first installment of my new professional wrestling podcast, Gorilla 316. This will be distributed through the way my other podcasts, of course, are. If you're listening to this, you're probably familiar with that by now. It's a Gorilla distributed through the same way, under the same account, so to speak. So it'll appear in the It's a Gorilla on iTunes and Podbean, etc., and all the various things that are being distributed, as well as on YouTube. So I just kind of want to make that the inspiration behind the name of the podcast. I want to just get into briefly is during the time of the Attitude Era, there was a Raw that took place in Phoenix, Arizona. The Phoenix Suns mascot came out, who was a gorilla. He took off his Suns jacket and he had on a shirt that said Gorilla 316, man. And me being known as the Gorilla Hebrew, Gorilla 316, a wrestling fan, Stone Cold Steve Austin being my favorite wrestler, etc. I just said, you know what, it just makes sense. So we're gonna call this one Gorilla 316. Okay, I want to get some things out the way, because I did a wrestling podcast before with my esteemed colleague Priest Yazor, and I just did only one. And I kind of didn't like. I mean, I liked some of it. We got some good feedback, but it just kind of wasn't enough, so I never continued it. But now that I'm podcasting regularly with the It's Gorilla podcast, I said I want to kind of do this as well, because I've been watching a little bit. I took a long time off from watching wrestling, man. Due to some things. And, I'm back into it. So I just, I'll podcast about it. I got the network. I watch the network. I listen to different wrestling podcasts, Conan podcasts, being the most prominent, Stevie Ray's, which I don't even think he's doing no more, which is unfortunate. I like Stevie Ray's, Booker T's as well. What I'm watching and I just went to Hell in a Cell and I just went to Raw in Dallas. I mean, I didn't go to Hell in a Cell. I watched Hell in a Cell and I went to Raw in Dallas through Spirit. So, it's just, and outside of, what we do, what I do is being a Hebrew Israelite, teaching, going to the streets, doing live streams, classroom settings, boots on the ground, activism, and things of that nature. People often forget that we also have other aspects and balances to our lives and hobbies and pastimes, etc. And I know that people who are interested in, not only the same things as me, but just, things I got going on outside of, the norm, teaching the Bible and things of that nature. They want to see what else I got going on and how I feel about certain other things. So, podcasting is effective and powerful for these purposes. So certainly it's something that I would, that I enjoy doing. And that, I wanted to start doing. So I started it, man. Simple as that. But, disclaimer for those who maybe listen to this podcast and not be familiar with me or the Hebrew Israelites or what we do. Of course, we believe that Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, pursuant to their patrilineage, are the descendants of the biblical Israelites. Okay? I'm vehemently racist, unapologetic about, my racial ideals towards people who aren't Black, Hispanic, and Native American. It just is what it is. It's biblical. So I want to make sure that those are things that are understood moving forward, because you're most certainly going to hear me be racially insensitive to those demographics outside of the ones I mentioned, or the Israelites that we're a part of. I mean, that's just get used to it. Again, that's if you are new to this. Again, go ask the Southern Poverty Law Center about me. Go ask the Anti-Defamation League about me. Vehemently racist. All right, so that's gonna come out in this podcast if you become a listener and you're not familiar with that. Just so you know. But now that that's out the way, all the formalities are out the way. I have a lot to talk about. There was a point in time where I was attempting to be a promoter in the business, and I have a promoter or a booker's mind in professional wrestling for sure. So when I watched Hell in a Cell, I took an immense amount of extensive notes, as well as when I went to Raw the following night, which is this Wednesday, so just 2 nights ago, here in Dallas, Texas. There's also some other stuff that I'm going to start in future installments, but just I have so much from Hell in a Cell and Raw that that's all we're going to be able to talk about today, quite frankly. Just so let me do this too again, because this is again I've done a podcast like this before, but I don't even know if I don't even think I have it online anymore. So I'm gonna just give people a little bit of brief history about how I got into and became a fan of professional wrestling, and how it's been over the years. So I would say I probably became a fan of professional wrestling in 1998, if I recollect correctly. 98, maybe 99. Around that time. No, it had to be, let me think. How old are you? It had to be no later than second grade. Second grade for me had to be, what is that, 97? 97, 98? Somewhere around there. So like 98, I would say. That would be the safest year. 98. At first, I would listen to what people say, wrestling is fake. And just predicated upon that, I would reject it and not want to watch it. But I gave it a shot one Monday night, watching Raw. And, I saw guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin and Ahmed Johnson and Nation Domination. And I really liked what I saw. I liked the story. I liked the show. I liked especially the way Austin was serving it, and the way the Nation of Domination was serving it at that time. I liked it a lot. So I cleaved to it, and I became, I came up in a kind of like a gang environment. So I have a gang mentality with a lot of things, and what I mean by that is, I take sides. So in understanding that there was some type of a rivalry, a Monday Night War going on between WWE and WCW, or WWF it was at the time, I of course took WWF's side and refused to watch WCW until probably late 99. Probably like late 99, 2000. I finally started watching WCW. And I liked WCW during that time period. In a time period where a lot of people said it was in its decline and people didn't like it, I loved WCW during that time period. And I've been revisiting a lot on the network. But yeah, so I was always a huge ECW fan. I would catch it on Friday. I remember rushing home from school on Fridays to catch ECW on TNN, and things of that nature. So that's kind of like how I got into wrestling. My top 5 all time. I'll just give before I get into this, just so people get at least a little bit of background who aren't familiar with me or who aren't familiar with my interest in professional wrestling. It would have to be Austin. Austin is number 1. Yes, I'm racist. I don't like white people. All right, but as far as just like there's plenty of racist white people who are fans of black people in sports. And unfortunately, we live in professional wrestling, which is a very controlled environment, and an environment that has a culture of racism, and a culture of nepotism towards other white folks. Let's just be honest here. But Austin is Austin. I think there's very few people who would argue with Austin being one of their all-time favorites all around. The dude was, had a phenomenal persona in what he did. Of course, not so much his in-ring ability, but just who he was. And a lot of that was, he was the first person to put BMF on a jacket. And BMF, of course, later become a world-renowned black mafia organization. You know what I'm saying? Which his BMF didn't mean black mafia family, but there were very edgy, street, black-esque elements to his character and who he was that appealed to the masses of black people. All right, so that's why we liked him so much. But Austin, New Jack from ECW, of course. Ahmed Johnson is up there. Scott Steiner is up there. All right, Big Papa Pump, who also clearly had black elements to his character. Big Papa Pump, Macho Man is up there. Booker and Stevie is up there. You know what I mean? So that's just some of my all-time favorites. And currently, who would I say my current favorite is? Man, Shane Strickland, certainly. Kill Shot from Lucha Underground, certainly be up there. Penta, certainly. I think Penta is probably the number one wrestler on the planet right now, honestly. But as far as favorites go, because we gotta understand, there's a difference between who you like, who's your favorite, and who the best is. There's a difference, you know. So I would say the number one guy on the earth right now, in my opinion, is Pentagon Jr., Pentagon Dark, Penta El Cero Metal. Him, I think he's number one. But my favorite would probably be a Shane Strickland. Also among my all-time favorites, you put Marcus Corvon up there, or Monty Brown and Elijah Burke. They all rank amongst my all-time favorites. And some of these guys, like an Ahmed and like a Monty Brown and like a Elijah Burke, I just feel like their potential was never really realized. You know, and that is what that is. But that's enough on that. I just want to give a little bit of background. I got a lot to talk about as far as Hell in a Cell and Raw go. So I don't want to even waste any more time. All right, so let me take a look at my notes. Okay, first and foremost, I got to say this. Paige and Booker T on the pre-show are unbearable. You got to get them off of there. I love Booker. I love his podcast. I love his in-ring work, but I just don't like him in that being on that pre-show. I don't like it. It's unbearable. And Paige was unbearable too. All right, I don't know what, even as GM, I don't even know where Paige fits into to wrestling right now and what she could be used for. I just don't see it. She's not that good of a talker. She probably needs to be paired with somebody, be somebody's on-screen girlfriend, and be involved in some type of conniving storyline series. That's what she needs to do, because I don't like her how they're using her now. And I understand they need to use her. She's contracted. She does have certain star power and appeal that draws a lot of people to her, and people want to see her, but she needs to be utilized properly. Okay? And WWE has a culture of serial misutilizing people, especially black people and Hispanic people. But Paige is being serially misused in this instance as well. So they got to get them the hell off of there. Very happy that New Day went over in that tag title match on the pre-show, right? A couple of things though. WWE attendance being down. It's just, what's so crazy is I watched these Attitude Era Raws, man, and Nitros. Nitro was in the Alamo Dome regular. This is a pay-per-view, a big pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell, and they got to have it at the AT&T Center. That just shows you where this sport is going, right? I was in, and I'll talk about this later, but when I went to Raw in Dallas on Monday, I counted at least 15 empty 20-person rows. 15. With The Undertaker there. That don't even make sense. You know? It's crazy. But I just, I would have thought, you would think that something of that magnitude would draw a crowd that could fill the Alamo Dome. Something that also threw me off, though, about Hell in a Cell is this. Why wasn't every match in the Hell in a Cell? You have the nerve to call a pay-per-view by such a generic title after this match, and the match only take place twice on the card? That doesn't even make sense. Why don't we can we bring Unforgiven back? The original September pay-per-view is Unforgiven. Why can't we just call it Unforgiven and, have a draw of Unforgiven be a Hell in a Cell match, or be 2 Hell in a Cell matches, one for each brand or whatever? Why in the hell do you have to name an entire pay-per-view after Hell in a Cell, but only 2 Hell in a Cell matches take place in? This is stupid. Are they still? And let me look. I want to see something. Is there a 2018 WWE Network events? Right? I want to see here. Can I get a list? Okay, so we got Backlash. You can see Elimination Chamber, Extreme Rules. Is every match in Extreme Rules? I assume so. Right? And that makes sense, even though the title Extreme Rules is stupid. It's dumb as hell. There's just so many other better words. You could have revived some of the titles of those ECW pay-per-views or anything, or even WWE had good pay-per-view names in the past, right? So, the card consisted of 12 matches, including 2 on the pre-show. The result of hold on. Was everything? Does it tell us whether or not? Okay, it's not telling me, and I didn't know because I don't watch it. But I assume that they at least had the sense to make all the Extreme Rules matches at Extreme Rules under Extreme Rules. Then Hell in a Cell, Money in the Bank, right? Even so, they have a Money in the Bank. And look, I can even accept Money in the Bank, every match not being a Money in the Bank, because you can only do so many Money in the Bank matches, and just Money in the Bank is kind of like a cool name. So I can see how that all of those matches wouldn't be a part of, or would be under the Money in the Bank rules and guidelines. Nigga, but Elimination Chamber and Hell in a Cell better have every single match in the Elimination Chamber or in the Hell in a Cell, period. It doesn't make any sense not to. Right? So that irked me about this. That certainly irked me about this. All right? But here's what I will say. I like the new Hollywood style promos that they do. I really like those. And I also like the new Red Cell. I heard certain people complain about it. One of my main brothers who I went to Raw with, Yaya Daya, he was complaining about the new Red Cell and how it hurt his eyes. Me, I like the new Red Cell. It kind of is reminiscent of, if y'all remember that original cage that they had, that was like the blue cage before they just went on the chain link. It reminded me of that a little bit. But I like the Red Cell personally. I think it's a nice touch. I also liked them leading with Orton and Hardy, being that top match on the card, that first one being this high profile of a match between Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy. I like the way they did that as well. Of course, they show the non-English announce tables to start the damn show to show us that somebody's going through these at some point tonight. I also found it interesting that Jeff Hardy had never competed in Hell in a Cell. As we know Jeff, as we have watched Jeff since Shotgun Saturday Night, when him and his brother were managed by what's his damn name? Michael Hayes, right? I remembered him from that point. What made people like these guys was the death-defying links that they would go to, and the type of matches they were involved in. So the fact that he's never been in the Hell in a Cell was interesting to me, peculiar, but it also added to the importance and the magnitude of this match, that he never competed in it before. I think that they started doing the ladder to the rib spot too early, dealing with Orton, hitting him in the ribs with that ladder too early, and him not being able to sell it throughout the whole match. That's why I'm saying they did it too early, and that's one critique I certainly have on this match, and something I think they did wrong in the psychology of telling the story of this match is his ribs getting beat on that early and him not selling it throughout the match, which is why you shouldn't do something like that so early, because it's something that you're going to have to be cognitive of selling throughout the duration of the match, which could be 15, 20 damn minutes, and it can slip your mind. So that's not something that should be done so early. But moving on, I think the toolbox, man, was a very nice touch. I didn't see that coming. I seen it like, damn, well, what is he going to do? Then he pulls joint out. He pulls a screwdriver. I didn't see that coming. Then what he did with the screwdriver, putting it in his earlobe and twisting it up, I didn't see that coming. So that was all great, because it's all of this is kind of never before seen. It's kind of unprecedented. It's extremely heinous and violent, right? So it adds to the intrigue and the fact that people paid extra money to see this, that they can't see this on USA on Monday or Tuesday, right? So that was all interesting. And I like that a lot. And it was very reminiscent to me of, if people remember, there was a feud between Hoovy and Super Crazy and XPW, for those of y'all who watch XPW, as I had the ability to watch in Southern California in the early 2000s. But there was I believe, was it Juvie? I forget who cut who. Either either Hoovy or Super Crazy took a foul to the other one's head and cut him like temple to temple in the head. It was wow. And this is the first time since then I saw something like that I could say was like up there on that level, which was Randy with that screwdriver, man. So that was I like that for sure. I like that, and it had my jaw dropping for sure. I like that type of white on white violence. You white folks just keep beating up, killing, beefing with each other. That's great. We love it, right? And okay, so another oh shit moment for me was the chair swanton bomb. I really thought he wasn't gonna do it. I know that takes a lot. I know that's dangerous. I know it's gonna hurt like a motherfucker, and the risk is astronomical that you're taking doing a swanton bomb onto a goddamn chair. But that motherfucker did it. Right? So that these are the things that made this match great. Was that screwdriver, was that chair swanton bomb. And then we have but also hold on, I don't know how they went I went right over this. The Jeff through the ladder spot was amazing. And I like the screwdriver. I like the chair swanton. I like the finish. But I didn't really like the finish, to be honest with you. But here's the thing. Randy putting Jeff through that ladder, that was my favorite spot and probably my favorite moment of the night for certain. Was Randy putting Jeff through that ladder. That was great. Again, something I never seen coming. Putting the ladder upside down and slamming a grown man chest first onto it. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot. That was great. That was really great. That was an amazing spot, and I think definitely spot of the night. And I also believe that this match certainly is a match of the year candidate. Certainly. But Jeff going Gabby Douglas through the table, I liked, kind of, but I didn't like it as the finish. I didn't like it as the finish at all. But granted, you fall off a 20-foot cage, or 10 feet because it's to the ring, or 15, whatever, through a table, you logically shouldn't be able to continue in the match, for sure. That shouldn't happen. So I definitely understand it as the finish. I just kind of don't like it as the finish. But it is what it is. And also, a finish like that will mean what? The feud is certainly something that's going to continue. I don't know where they could go from here, because that was a hell of a match. I don't see them being able to top that, quite frankly. But the feud, I'm sure, is something that will be going on. But another critique I have of the match is the fact that it could have easily not been in the Hell in a Cell. Outside of Jeff trying to go Gabby Douglas and epic failing through the table, every other aspect of that match was like it didn't incorporate the cell much into it. So it just could have easily not have took place in the Hell in a Cell. And it being Jeff in the cell and his first time in the cell, I feel like more should have happened. And I understand he's much older. His body is not in the shape that it used to be. I'm sure he's not trying to take the death-defying leaps that he, made his name for the way he used to, and he shouldn't really have to, earning his way and paying his dues and being in the business as long as he has. But I just feel like the cell itself should have been incorporated a lot more into this match, being that it's Jeff, it's his first time in the cell, and I think a few more exclamation points should have been hit. This match almost just seemed like it was an Extreme Rules match, as they call it now, a hardcore match, that at the end incorporated the cell finally. They easily could have done the same spot by him setting up a swanton onto the table, missing, going through the table, or something like that. And I feel like the match would have had damn near the same effect. Not quite the same as falling off a cell through a table. Then that whole commentators adding that he's coughing up blood, etc. I mean, all of that was good, but I just feel like that was the only time they really actually utilized the cell in that whole match. And I just feel like Jeff in the cell, it should have been utilized a lot more. Randy should have been a lot more kind of conniving, and I think somebody should have went through a part of the cell. But I know that probably would have been hard because that cell looks like it's super reinforced now for the safety of the competitors. But I just feel like more should have more of the sales should have been incorporated in that match. But other than that, I liked it. It's still a 5-star match. Still a 5-star match, hands down. 5-star match, hands down. Okay, moving on. The next match was, I think, Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, which had very impressive and also very embarrassing moments throughout the whole match. There were moments that were very impressive and very embarrassing. The cold part, a botch came in. Charlotte definitely had a 3 count. When that armbar was locked in, Charlotte definitely had a 3 count, which didn't happen, which is crazy because, of course, as y'all know, later in the show is how AJ retained the title. So that was kind of stupid. And there was a lot of that. There's been a lot of pin mishaps that they're really going to have to get a handle on because it's making things look really stupid with these pin mishaps, right? With these 3 count mishaps. As far as the finish, I feel like the finish was bullshit in my opinion. The only thing that I like about the finish is that she didn't win on with her finisher, and I like matches that people go over without hitting their finisher. Finishers are good, we love them, but it's almost getting to a point in professional wrestling, in every company, in the Indies, in WWE, in Impact, in Lucha Underground, like nobody can win unless they hit their finisher. It's becoming like too cliche. So that just means every time a cover is taken, we just know it's not over unless the finisher was hit. And 9 times out of 10, somebody's going to kick out of the finisher the first time and you're going to have to hit it the second time. Like it's just too much. It happens way too much now. So I like it when somebody can win not on a finisher, but at the same time, I didn't like it because it was anticlimactic. And it was so anticlimactic, and I understand they probably were trying to be like the element of surprise, but it was just too anticlimactic for a pay-per-view title change. A pay-per-view title change on an anticlimactic, non-finisher, non-major pin? I don't like that. Any day of the week, I don't like it. And I definitely wouldn't have gave Becky the title. I would have put Charlotte over. I certainly would have put Charlotte over. Not that I like Charlotte. I really hate Charlotte. Again, I think both her and Becky are not great in-ring competitors. I think they're sloppy. But, you know, it is what it is. I think Charlotte Flair resembles the dude off of Jeepers Creepers. She's a monster. She's got, you know, she's like a cross between dude from Jeepers Creepers and Wicked West. They had a baby. They made Charlotte Flair. I'm not a fan of Charlotte, but I definitely would have put her over to push her further as a heel. Becky getting the title eventually, sure, but I don't think Hell in a Cell was the spot for it. Maybe at Super Showdown. Then I see this commercial for the Marine 6, and I don't even understand how the Marine went past the first one, to be quite frank with you. It doesn't even make any sense, and I'm going to see something because a question I have is, and I'm going to look now live in real time. I want to make sure, hold on, because I'm recording on the computer, so let me make sure I'm switching inputs, and I need to make sure that I'm still recording. Yeah, I'm still recording. Okay, cool. So look, I'm going to check real quick because there's something I've been wondering. Right, WWE has WWE Films, right? We all know that Marine 6 is a WWE film. Hold on. Marine 6 is a WWE film, but I need to know if WWE Films come with the network. Because this is something I've been wondering. Not that I want to watch Marine 6, but I don't understand how WWE can have a network and not offer their movies. Let me see here, collections. New W Network, New Day. This is crazy. I'm not seeing it. They just got these collection things. War Games collection, all these collection things. Yeah, this is madness. So they got these collections. Shows. Let me see. Originals. See, this don't even make no sense, man. They got all these shows, right? But I don't understand why they wouldn't put original specials. 2018. See, like, I don't know. It don't even make no sense to me. How are you not going to have your movies that you're making, that you have this movie studio on a network? That certainly should be a part of the network. Like, y'all got to get on that and fix that, like, stat. It doesn't even make any sense. But the Marine 6, like, let's be serious. Like, the first other 5 were good. Also, this is my first time hearing that female commentator they have. She is garbage. And not because she's a girl. I'm sure there's girls who could do a tremendous job at commentating professional wrestling. She's just not one of them. She's trash. She's awkward. She doesn't fit. You guys know it. You're going to have to shit can her soon, like you've done so many other commentators. I don't understand how it's so difficult. You have a plethora of commentators and ex-professional wrestlers at your disposal that you can employ on a commentating team, and you keep putting, for whatever reason, pieces of garbage at the commentator position. You know how frustrating it is for a fan attempting to watch a show who's grew up on good old JR and Jerry King Lawler as commentators, to hear this bullshit that you have now? Come on now, man. And I need to know why Dolph Ziggler chews gum the way he does. It's like too douchey Healy, the way he chews gum. That shit is crazy. I just saw an article too on Forbes that Drew McIntyre is like the next star on Raw. My nigga, Drew McIntyre is one of the most overrated competitors on the roster now. I don't even know how I don't even know why they went and grabbed him up off the Indies again. He belongs on the Indies. And it's not, people really shouldn't take it offensive that you belong on the Indies. Because, yeah, the Indies, of course, the money's not the same. But in a lot of respects and regards, the Indies are better than the WWE at this current moment. And I feel like Drew is better on the Indies, and he was better in Impact than on WWE. I certainly don't see him having any star power whatsoever. I think he's garbage, personally. And I think he's way overrated. But as far as Dolph Ziggler goes, Dolph Ziggler is a living, breathing proof. And now I'm referencing now the Dolph and Drew versus The Shield for the tag titles. Dolph Ziggler is living, breathing proof that a WCW should exist still. That WCW should have never been put out of business. And how unfortunate it is that WCW was put out of business, because he has been trapped as a serial mid-carder in WWE. And I feel like if WCW existed, he would have made the jump, went to WCW, and would have been a star, like a lot of other guys that we saw in the 90s. I feel like he could have escaped WWE and the plateau that he's been forced to be in the WWE, and went to WCW and became an absolute star. Dolph has been robbed by the WWE, in my opinion. I didn't like the match much, though. And I think the Shield should have went over, and they should have picked the straps up and, going into Super Showdown. That's what I think. I think the Shield should have picked the straps up, had the tag straps, had the IC strap and the Universal strap going into Super Showdown. That's what I think. All right, and then maybe drop them in a couple weeks to those guys, let them go over dirty on Raw, and then maybe do a rematch at Crown Jewel. That's what I think they should be doing. I think it would just have been better. That's just me, though. And I think Dolph getting carried out by Drew McIntyre was corny. It was over the top. It was just too Hollywood. They got to stop doing shit like that. Moving on, though, for the AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe, I really think that feud has a very interesting dynamic. I like the bedtime story angle, and I think that it's a testament to the Hollywood writers that are now employed by the WWE, which I think there's, in certain aspects, they are certainly inexperienced and they are mishandling professional wrestling. But I think in other aspects, which is the intended aspect or the intended thing that WWE wants them to be doing, is they're adding new layers and intensifying the dynamics in wrestlers as characters, in the psychology of storytelling throughout the duration of matches, and of course overall in feuds and storylines, right? So I definitely do like the way that the Hollywood writer, or what the Hollywood writer has contributed to the Styles and Samoa Joe feud, and I think it's necessary because, of course, they come from Impact, so they feuded and they've wrestled and they've been here already. But now that they're on a bigger stage, I think more dynamics have to be added as opposed to a repeat of what has already been seen in Impact. You know what I mean? I think I really marked out for the pounce that Samoa Joe hit on AJ. I also marked out for that rack bomb. That rack bomb certainly I think should have been it. It should have been 1, 2, 3. But overall, Samoa Joe and AJ Styles are two of the best in the industry at telling a story in the ring, and it was a great story that was told in that ring. I marked out for the springboard F450. That was great. I also liked AJ showing color, AJ bleeding. Color is so much more meaningful today because they don't blade no more. You know, so when you see somebody bleeding in a wrestling ring, they are authentically, genuinely bleeding. That is their blood. That's not a blood capsule. They didn't take a razor blade and cut themselves. That nigga's bleeding. So I like that aspect of AJ, you know, authentically bleeding, showing color, as they say, in that match, because that also adds to what this feud is as it continues on. But I just think the finish was so retarded. And if they were going to do a false finish, they could have done it a million other ways. And I just think it was stupid. And I think that overall, almost every finish, as y'all will see as I move on in my commentary and my reaction to this event, almost every finish on this card was botched. Almost every finish on this card was stupid and didn't have to happen. And I feel like hurts professional wrestling, quite frankly. Yeah, but either way, though, even though I didn't like the finish, I would have put AJ over for sure. I like the couples tag. I just like the dynamic of two couples coming together and wrestling in the ring. I think that's great. But the match was a clusterfuck, quite frankly. The concept I like, but the match was a clusterfuck. It's like, how many bullshit finishes can you have at one event? You're ridiculous. Another bullshit finish over Bella. But shout out to the Bella twins. I just found out that they're Israelites. Their father was Mexican. I've been told this for a long time, and I always couldn't stand it. But now that I know this, I'm opening up to them. And I think, the way Maurice went over was bullshit. And I think that they could have wrote that a lot better. Moving on now to the Alexa Bliss and Ronda Rousey match. Alexa Bliss is a fucking sloppy worker. Okay? Ronda did a great job of sewing those ribs, though. Alicia Fox looked like a goddamn clown. She's such a sellout, and that's why I'm happy. I'm so happy that they got destroyed by Ember Moon and Nia Jax, which we'll get to in a minute, dealing with Raw. But the only thing about this match was this was the match that I liked to finish. The only goddamn match I liked the actual finish of the match. It's crazy. And who would have thought Alexa Bliss and Ronda Rousey, two bitches I can't stand. I actually like the finish of that match. Right? But the momentum switch was very Hollywood, and I can tell that the screenplay writers were very much a part of that. The momentum switch in that match. There was a promo that revealed that Undertaker would be at Raw the next night, which I didn't know prior to. I had got the tickets totally ignorant of the fact that Undertaker was going to be there, so I was psyched about that. But moving on now to the Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns match. I think Braun Strowman is the one thing that they kind of get right. I wrote it down as the one thing that they get right in WWE, but actually they only are kind of getting him right. And the reason why they're kind of getting him right is because they want Roman Reigns to be the new John Cena. They're forcing him down people's throats. They're making people like him because kids and women take a liking to him. And kids and women are two top consumers. So I understand. The same way I understand what they did with John Cena. John Cena being the new Hulk Hogan. But what they need is a new Austin. Right? So we have to remember how The Rock got over. He was this fake-ass Samoan gimmick. People started chanting, "Die, Rocky, die." He joined the Nation of Domination, became an asshole, an arrogant prick. People already disliked him, so they took a liking to him being that person. And then that allowed him to later transition into being a face who ended up being one of the top wrestlers of all time, one of the top merch sellers of all time, etc. So in this same essence, people need to be chanting and showing up to shows with signs that say, die Roman, die. The same way he said, die Rocky, die. And that's what's going to make Roman Reigns into the star that they want him to be, instead of making him be the star that everybody likes. People don't like him. People are rejecting him. Turn him heel. Make people love to hate him, and then it will be easier for people to learn to love him. I shouldn't have to tell WWE this. WWE should know this because they have experience in this, because they went through it with The Rock. So how are they getting Braun Strowman wrong? They're trying to force Braun Strowman to be a heel who's fucking over and everybody loves him. I watched him tell the entire arena in Dallas, Texas that they sucked, and people cheered him while they booed Roman Reigns, who's supposed to be the face. They cheered the heel for disrespecting them and telling them that they sucked. Braun needs to be the monster face. And Roman needs to be the hated heel. And that will take this to another goddamn level. Trust and believe you me. Right? But let me go back to this, because I had to jump, because I had to qualify that Braun is almost what they get right. I like Foley as a ref, the ref to this Hell in a Cell match. It was a nice touch. But also I want to say Roman's super punch is a joke. It's a joke. That Superman punch is one of the biggest jokes in professional wrestling today. And it needs to be shit canned immediately. Right? Mick with that badass count. That's what I'm talking about with this count shit, man. That was 3. Okay, and I hope that was on purpose and not a botch. It was on purpose and not a botch for Mick to pretty much count 3 and then say 2. If that was on purpose, it was genius. If that was a botch, come the fuck on, Mick. Ridiculous. Now the cover that Braun did after the stair shot, rather, it made me want to see Braun toss Mick off the cell, because Braun is now very livid and frustrated with Mick's officiating, and I feel like he should have threw Mick off the cell. Right? Granted, though, Mick then fell off of plenty of shit. He don't gotta fly off the cell anymore. I just feel like they should have paid him an extra bag and let Braun Strowman throw his ass off the cell. That would have been fucking great. Throw him off the cell like they did Chris Kanyon back in WCW. Just throw that nigga off the cell. Throw him off the cell like Rikishi at Armageddon into the fucking back of the pickup truck, nigga. That would have been great. And then more Superman punches. And all those extra Superman punches that Roman threw actually took away from the impact and the perception of him spearing Braun through the table, in my opinion. Okay? The run-in of Dolph and Drew and the Shield shouldn't have happened. It took away a lot from the match. I'm glad they climbed the cell, though. I'm glad somebody climbed the fucking cell. The cell needed to be climbed. I don't understand how you have a fucking event called Hell in a Cell, a big-ass red cell there, and don't nobody climb that motherfucker. So I'm glad somebody climbed it, but then the run-in shouldn't have happened, but I'm glad somebody climbed the cell, but then the run-in dragged on way too fucking long. These niggas were just laying on the fucking floor, Roman and Braun, for 20 goddamn minutes. That was ridiculous. That's the main event. That's who fucking people paid to see that goddamn match. How in the hell do you let that happen? Right? I'm glad someone went through the announce table, even though it was weak as fuck, and they both just overtly just fell. Just literally just let go of the goddamn cage and fell through him. So that was retarded. You're going to put niggas through a fucking table, at least make it memorable. But at least somebody climbed on top of the cell and went through the tables, at least. Brock was a certain pleasant surprise. Him kicking the door down was fucking great. Polly pepper spraying Foley was fucking great. F-fine Roman on top of Braun was also great, but that should have been the finish. It should have been Brock F5's Roman onto Braun. 1, 2, 3. Roman goes over. Right? But regardless, it was evident that the triple threat was imminent between those three, which I'm sure is going to be a great match. I thought it was going to happen at Showdown. I didn't know that there was that 6-man tag book for Showdown. So now, of course, we've learned at Raw it's going to happen at Crown Jewel. All right. But that is my Hell in a Cell reaction breakdown. Now we're going to move into Raw. All right. We're going to move into Raw live in Dallas that I was able to attend by the grace of the Most High. I was in the nosebleeds, but it was still good because I had a good view of the screen up top, and of the ring, right? So I was kind of upset. Of course, being at this Raw, you don't get to see 205 Live, you don't get to see New Day, you don't get to see Samoa Joe, all people who I really wanted to see, but it's all right. But like I mentioned earlier, though, there was a lot of empty seats, a lot more empty seats than there should have been than I expected there to be. At least there was at least 15, 20-person rows that was totally empty. Half of the first row on the camera side of the ring was empty. That's bad, man. That's really bad. There was a lot of douchey chants that took place, and I just couldn't find the nuts to partake in them. I just couldn't. And it's been a while since I haven't been to a WWE event in a long time. Well, no. I went last year, but it was an NXT event. So I went to NXT last year in San Diego, and then I went to some larger events, 2 crash events in Tijuana that were, large, 5,000 plus people. But other than that, I've really only went to Indies of recent, or last year. I haven't been to a Raw probably since the invasion, Tacoma Dome. The last time I went to a WWE event. So a lot has changed. The stage is a lot smaller than I thought it would be. That I expected to be smaller than, of course it was during the invasion, for sure. I like the fact they're doing another event in Arabia, though, and I just feel like this global expansion that WWE is doing, Crown Jewel, that it was announced there at the Raw. I just feel like they should have did this a long time ago. And they've been going on these tours, but it's like you guys could have been doing TV or recording special events for these places. Remember, like they used to do Rebellion and Insurrection. They used to do a special England pay-per-views. They could have been doing this shit, man. They should have been doing this shit. And I like the network special type of shit, like the just like for Beast in the East and WWE and at the Garden. I like all those network event type of things, and I feel like, and I'm mad as hell too that they did Starrcade last year and they didn't make it a network event. Like, you have a fucking network. Do everything on the network. You have a movie studio. Put that shit on the network. Like, why the fuck aren't you doing that? WWE do a lot of dumb shit in 2018, y'all. A lot of dumb shit, man. And it's like obvious, like, just do this. It's not difficult. I don't understand, but whatever. My fault. I have a note about Brian being super over, but they're booking him heel and how stupid it is. But I've already really gone on to that. I think it was a good touch that Paul came out with the cell door. That was great. I was pleasant surprised that a title match was booked, and I'm now able to say that I saw the Universal title get defended when Baron Corbin booked himself against Roman Reigns, which we all knew, of course, Roman was going to go over. There's no way that match in Arabia is going to have fucking Baron Corbin in the goddamn main event. That's stupid. I just feel like the IC title rematch being booked was retarded. That whole concept was retarded. It was so obvious what was going to happen that he was going to book it predicated upon a cowardly assumption that Seth was going to show up and Seth was going to go over. All of that was so predictable. Didn't even make sense. The first 3 matches I'm really not even going to talk about, though, of the Raw card because of how boring they were. But Taker coming out was awesome. I really liked that, and it reminded me of when he got married. Y'all remember when he was trying to marry Stephanie during the Ministry of Darkness time? That was great. I was reminded of that. I don't know why it reminded me of it so much, but this wasn't the first time I think I seen Undertaker I seen him at Raw. Yeah, I saw him at Raw. I had to see him at that Raw, but that's when he was doing the biker gimmick. I don't think I've seen. Did I see him? Yeah, I don't think I ever saw Taker live as the Dead Man. You know, so that was kind of my first time. I think it was in a biker gimmick. Because I want to say I went to SmackDown in 2000. Yeah, I went to SmackDown in 2000, and I went to Raw in 2001. SmackDown 2000, Raw in 2001. Yeah, and he was the dead man for those. I mean, not the dead man, the biker, American Badass for those. So that was interesting. It reminded me of that marriage he was trying to have to Stephanie that Stone Cold saved her from, if y'all remember. I like the Authors of Pain too. The Authors of Pain came out for that squash match with the locals. Authors of Pain, man, I see them going places. They're kind of reminiscent to me to a degree of the APA, and not for any reason other than they're a monster tag team who I like. There's really not anything that's reminiscent. Kind of maybe their acronym, but you know, I like the Authors of Pain a lot. I don't know if I like Rockstar Spud, little bitch ass managing them, but I like the Authors of Pain. I marked out when Seth hit that blockbuster. Blockbusters are, you know, one of my favorite moves in the history of professional wrestling. I mean, you don't see them a lot anymore, especially not in WWE. So I like that Seth hit that blockbuster, and I like the finish. I like how Seth went over. Moving on though, here's Cole, because when Ronda was in there talking about she wanted to do the open challenge, and then Natalya told her how to, I just knew Natalya was going to accept her open challenge. Then when she does her open challenge, Natalya's music hits and it's like, oh shit, she did it for real. But then it was a swerve. The Ugly Girl Club or the Riot Squad, or what do you call them hoes? They came out and they are some of the most hideous bitches of all time. I don't understand how anybody has the nerve to put them on a national television platform. It's ridiculous. Get those bitches off of TV. They are ugly as fuck. Put them in a Purge movie and let their ass die or something. I don't know. Get them bitches off of TV though. That's ridiculous. And I certainly don't see them as formidable opponents for Ronda Rousey at all. But I understand that they need to transition because Alexa Bliss is what I'm just learning is hurt. So they got to transition. I was happy as hell to see Leo. Last time I saw Leo, he ain't like me too much, but I was happy to see Leo. I'm just, I'm happy for the brother. I'm happy for what he's done, what he's accomplished. And I like that he's repping Bobby Lashley, because of course we know that Bobby Lashley is a horrible talker and Leo Rush is a tremendous talker. So I'm happy to see that. I just hope they don't marginalize him to just being a manager though, because his in-ring talents and abilities are too great to bypass. And he was able to showcase some of that at Raw, jumping over people, running, etc. But they need to really make sure at least he's on 205 Live, you know, showing this stuff for sure. Alicia Fox needs to take off the silly ass goddamn hat she had on. She's a joke. I love Ember Moon. Me and my bro who was there, Yaya Daya, we had a feeling that Nia Jax was going to be Ember Moon's surprise partner. Sure enough, it was. We were ecstatic about that. I was happy to see Nia Jax live. She's a monster, and I'm looking for her to get the title soon, but I'm also looking for Ember Moon to definitely be the star of the women's division moving forward. Or not moving forward, but of the future soon. Ember Moon is extremely talented. She's hot. Love her. Love Ember Moon. Love her character. Love her finisher. I mean, everything about Ember is great. So, love that. But what some of the women's division is in WWE, it reveals itself is that the women's division is a lot like Hooters. I remember my main man, the Deacon, and I, we used to frequent this Hooters some years ago, and the manager told us, if the girl is cute, we hire her and we work on her customer service skills later. And I feel like the WWE follows those same guidelines and practices. It's like they just hire girls who they perceive to be attractive, but they really don't care much about their in-ring ability. And some of these very atrocious and embarrassing women's competitors are a clear testament to that. And from what last I heard, that the ticket sales are so low for WWE Evolution, which is going to be an all-women's pay-per-view event. I don't even know. I mean, they should have just did it in a small room. Or they really should have did it Full Sail where they do NXT at. That's really what they should have did. But, man, it's just crazy. They got to fix that women's division. Ember Moon is definitely the best female competitor they have, in my opinion. Though. And also, man, JoJo. Let me not let this go by. JoJo adds that she is so fine, man. Damn. Fine in person. Fine on the TV. She just fine as hell. So big shout out to JoJo. Now moving on to the main event, Baron Corbin versus Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. There was a point in time where they did an overwhelmingly way too long rest hold. Baron had Roman in. That shit like that got to stop. Then Roman breaks out of it looking like he's having a fucking Parkinson's or an epileptic episode. But also in this match, Roman actually hit a Superman punch that I liked, which was off the stairs to Baron Corbin. That was a great Superman punch. But then I also had a feeling, though, that there was going to be a DQ. It was. Then I also had a feeling that once the DQ came, Baron was going to try to restart the match, which it did. But overall, I liked the finish. Of course, love Roman going over. Because he has to go over. Because there's that triple threat match going down to Saudi Arabia. So, essentially, though, man, that's my reaction to Hell in a Cell and Raw live in Dallas this past week, man. Look out for future installments of this episode, this podcast, Gorilla 316, at least probably every week or every other week, depending. At least I'm not avid with Raw and SmackDown and 205 Live like I once was. I'm really not. But what I will do for sure is keep up with what's going on here and there, be it if YouTube articles, and watch the network specials of the pay-per-views. I'm going to watch those for sure. I'm going to watch Super Showdown for sure. I mean, that's my plan, at least, Lord willing. So I'll definitely be doing reactions to these, as well as starting a new segment, or not even a new segment, but next episode I plan to go into my I Was There to talk about some legendary all-time moments in professional wrestling history that I personally was in attendance at the building for. So y'all look out for that. I'll tell the stories on that in my next one, as well as what a segment that I'm going to start doing is going to be reacting to the Russo era WCW Nitros, and then I'm going to go from that into the Invasion angle, okay? Because I feel like Russo's WCW gets a really bad rap, and I think that it had a lot of good and a lot more good than people give it credit for. So I'm going to start going into those things in future installments. But until next time, again, I give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, and I do so in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Real name in the Hebrew, Yahweh Shai, who's a so-called black man. Shalom.